In the bustling city of Los Angeles, where dreams either vanish in the chaos or turn into empires, four friends once came together with nothing more than a wild idea and an empty parking lot. It was the year 2017, and the city was already overflowing with food trucks, pop-ups, and flashy restaurants. Yet, these four young men believed they could create something different, something that would capture the heart of the city. Their names were Dave Capuchian, Armando Ganeshan, and brothers Tommy and Gary Ru. None of them imagined that within a few short years, their little food experiment would become one of the fastest-growing restaurant chains in America, and eventually, the world. Dave Capuchian had always been passionate about cooking. After training in fine dining kitchens, and even working under Gordon Ramsay, he had the skills to prepare the most sophisticated dishes. But despite his background in high-end cuisine, Dave wanted to do something simpler, something more relatable, something that anyone could enjoy. He wasn't thinking about Michelin stars or glamorous reviews. He was thinking about food that would make people line up, smile, and come back for more. The idea was hot chicken, inspired by the famous Nashville-style spicy fried chicken, but with their own unique twist. The first challenge was simple but huge. How do you start when you have almost no money? The four friends decided they didn't need a fancy restaurant, or even a food truck. Instead, they found an unused parking lot in East Hollywood, brought in a portable fryer, a small table, and a few lights. That was it, the humble beginning of Dave's Hot Chicken. They painted a simple sign, put up a menu with only a handful of items, and waited to see if anyone would come. At first, it was slow. Friends and family showed up to support them, but most people passed by without noticing. After all, Los Angeles had thousands of food options. Why would anyone choose fried chicken from a makeshift stand in a parking lot? But the secret was in the recipe. Dave had experimented endlessly with spices, marinades, and frying techniques. When someone finally tried the chicken, they tasted a crunch that was perfect, a flavor that was bold yet balanced, and a level of spiciness that kept them coming back for more. Word began to spread. People started to post about it on Instagram, sharing photos of the fiery chicken and the long lines forming in that unlikely corner of the city. The power of social media was undeniable. In a city like Los Angeles where trends could rise and fall overnight, Dave's Hot Chicken managed to stand out. Their branding was raw, almost rebellious. The bright red chicken with flames, the loud energy of the place, the music, the laughter of people waiting in line, it all became part of the experience. And then there was the spice challenge. Customers loved daring each other to try the hotter levels, from light mild all the way up to Reaper, which was so spicy you had to sign a waiver before eating it. It wasn't just food. It was fun, it was culture, it was entertainment. But behind the scenes, things weren't easy. The four friends worked endlessly, often late into the night, frying chicken, cleaning up, and preparing for the next day. They had to deal with the unpredictability of weather, the lack of resources, and the constant pressure of whether or not the idea would last. Yet, they believed in it with everything they had. Dave's vision of creating simple but unforgettable food pushed them forward. Armin and the Rubenian brothers handled the business side, making sure that even as lines grew longer, the operation stayed smooth. They were learning on the go, with no big investors, no corporate plan, just determination and hustle. Slowly but surely, the lines got longer. Influencers, food bloggers, and local celebrities started to show up. People who had never been to that neighborhood drove across town just to taste the famous hot chicken. The parking lot pop-up had turned into a phenomenon. Within months, they realized that this wasn't just a small experiment anymore. They had something big on their hands. The question was, could they take it to the next level? Could four friends with a fryer and a dream turn this into a real business? That moment of decision would change their lives forever. They could either stay small, keeping the charm of a hidden gem, or they could expand, risking everything but potentially building something historic. It was not an easy choice, but the friends agreed. They were ready to grow. People were hungry for more than just the chicken. They wanted the brand, the energy, the culture. Los Angeles was just the beginning. The tiny kitchen in East Hollywood continued to buzz with life as Dave's Hot Chicken found its early rhythm. Each night, the smell of spice and frying chicken filled the air and spread down the block, attracting strangers who were curious about the long line that kept forming outside. Word of mouth was the best advertising they had, and in those first few months, it spread faster than any billboard or TV ad ever could. Customers weren't just coming to eat, they were coming to experience something they couldn't find anywhere else in Los Angeles. Friends brought more friends. Late-night drivers stopped when they saw the crowd, and social media began to catch fire with photos of trays stacked with tender hot chicken, pickles, and soft bread. The founders didn't have the money to run glossy campaigns, but they didn't need to. Their authenticity was their brand, and their hustle was the story people wanted to be part of. For the team, those early days were exhausting but exhilarating. Dave handled much of the cooking, constantly experimenting with the spice levels, making sure every order had that balance of flavor and heat. Armand took care of operations, trying to keep the lines moving without losing quality. Tommy made sure that customers felt welcome and kept sharing the story of how four friends had bet everything on a little food stand. Gary, with his background in finance, kept them grounded and always reminded the group about the bigger picture of what they were building. Each role mattered, and together they were building something that felt less like a business and more like a movement. As the weeks turned into months, the tiny stand was no longer enough. Customers begged them to open a permanent location. Bloggers and local food critics were calling Dave's Hot Chicken the next big thing in Los Angeles. The buzz wasn't just hype, it was built on real flavor, real effort, and a real connection with the community. In 2018, they took the leap. They opened their first brick-and-mortar restaurant, a small but vibrant spot that carried the same energy as their original stand. Lines wrapped around the block on opening day, just like they had in East Hollywood, proving that people weren't just chasing novelty. They loved the product, and they trusted the team behind it. That first restaurant was a turning point. It gave the brand legitimacy and attracted attention from people far outside their neighborhood. Investors started to call. Entrepreneurs wanted to know how they had created so much demand, and even celebrities began showing up. Social media amplified every moment: pictures of celebrities eating their chicken, videos of massive crowds waiting in line, and viral clips of customers reacting to the extreme spice levels. Dave's Hot Chicken was no longer just a local favorite. It was starting to become a cultural phenomenon. But with growth came new challenges. Maintaining consistency was crucial. Hot chicken wasn't just fried chicken with spice. It was an art form, and one wrong step could ruin the brand they had worked so hard to build. The founders knew that scaling too quickly could destroy everything, so they were cautious. They spent months creating systems that could ensure every piece of chicken served in any location would taste just as good as the original stand. From sourcing the right chicken to perfecting the marination process, nothing was left to chance. Their caution paid off, because soon big names started to take notice. Among them was Bill Phelps, a veteran in the restaurant industry who had helped expand Wetzel's Pretzels into hundreds of locations. When he tried Dave's Hot Chicken for the first time, he knew it wasn't just another food trend. It had staying power. He reached out to the founders and offered to help them expand on a scale they had never imagined possible. With his guidance, they started planning for nationwide growth, something that would have sounded impossible just 2 years earlier, when they were standing in that parking lot in East Hollywood. The idea of franchising came up, and it was a moment of truth. Would Dave's Hot Chicken lose its authenticity if it expanded too fast? Would customers in New York, Chicago, or Toronto feel the same excitement that people in Los Angeles felt? These questions weighed heavily on the team, but they realized that their mission was bigger than fear. They wanted to share their food with the world, and if they could maintain their standards, expansion wasn't a risk, it was an opportunity. By 2019, Dave's Hot Chicken opened its first franchise locations, and once again, lines stretched around the block. Customers across the US and even in Canada quickly fell in love with the brand. It wasn't just about the chicken anymore. It was about the story for friends, a dream, and a parking lot that turned into a global sensation. This authenticity carried into every new market, making customers feel like they were part of something special. The expansion drew attention from more than just food lovers. High-profile celebrities like Drake and Samuel L. Jackson became investors, bringing even more buzz to the brand. Having a superstar like Drake not only provided financial backing, but also gave the brand cultural credibility. When Drake posted about Dave's Hot Chicken, millions of his followers instantly knew the name, and many of them lined up to try it for themselves. Suddenly, what started as a late-night food stand was now a brand with global recognition. The founders never forgot their roots, though. Even as new stores opened across the United States, they made sure every new location carried the same spirit as the original. They encouraged franchise owners to stay true to the brand's values: authenticity, community, and of course, incredible flavor. They weren't just selling food, they were building a culture of heat, fun, and every tray of hot chicken represented the hustle that started it all. As 2020 arrived, the world changed with the pandemic. Many restaurants shut their doors permanently, but Dave's Hot Chicken adapted. With a strong takeout and delivery model, they managed not only to survive but to thrive during one of the hardest times for the food industry. Customers craved comfort food, and hot chicken gave them that satisfaction. While others struggled, Dave's Hot Chicken continued to open new locations, showing resilience that impressed both the food world and the business community. By this time, the numbers were staggering. Dozens of new stores were opening across the US, and more were being planned for international markets. What had started as a dream shared by four friends was now one of the fastest-growing restaurant chains in the world. The story was so compelling that major media outlets covered their rise, calling it one of the most remarkable success stories in modern food culture. The founders often reflected on their journey, reminding themselves that it all started with a $900 bet and a lot of hard work. They didn't come from wealth or privilege. They weren't backed by corporations or celebrity chefs. They were just friends with a dream who believed in their product and never gave up. That authenticity resonated with every customer who walked through their doors. It made people feel that they weren't just eating hot chicken. They were taking part in a story of resilience, ambition, and possibility. Dave's Hot Chicken had officially gone from a small parking lot experiment to a brand that captured hearts across America, but the journey was far from over. The demand was growing, the momentum was building, and the world was watching to see just how far this fiery little brand could go. In the years that followed, the viral buzz of 2017, Dave's Hot Chicken faced a critical stage that many startups encountered, transitioning from a beloved local food spot to a scalable brand without losing its soul. This was not just about selling more chicken, it was about preserving the story, the authenticity, and the sense of community that had made it special in the first place. The original founders, Dave Kapushian and his friends Armand, Tommy, and Gary, realized that their humble venture had tapped into something bigger than they had initially imagined. But now they needed guidance to grow it into a sustainable business model. That guidance came in the form of Bill Phelps, a seasoned restaurant executive who had co-founded Wetzel's Pretzels and had years of experience scaling food concepts. Phelps immediately recognized the explosive potential of Dave's Hot Chicken, not just because of its delicious Nashville-style chicken, but because of the authenticity behind the story. He joined as CEO, and with his leadership, the brand began a journey that would push it into national and soon, international. His vision was to keep the product simple, the menu short, and the identity bold, so that expansion would never dilute the magic that had started in that small East Hollywood parking lot. One of the earliest turning points came when high-profile investors and celebrities began to notice the brand. Music superstar Drake, actor Samuel L. Jackson, and Boston Red Sox legend Chris Martin all became investors, helping to catapult Dave's Hot Chicken into the spotlight. Their involvement wasn't just about money, it was about cultural influence. When Drake posted about Dave's Hot Chicken, millions of fans saw the brand in a new light. Suddenly, what had started as a late-night idea between friends became a movement endorsed by household names. But celebrity hype can only go so far. The real test was whether customers kept coming back, not just once, but again and again, and they did. The bold flavors, the carefully crafted spice levels, and the nostalgic simplicity of a chicken tender basket with crinkle-cut fries tapped into something universal. People across different backgrounds, cities, and even countries could relate to the joy of comfort food with a kick. Social media played a major role here too. Fans would record themselves taking on the Reaper level of spice, or share mouth-watering videos of chicken tenders being pulled apart, dripping with sauce. Each share, each post, spread the brand further, creating a ripple effect that marketing dollars alone could never buy. By 2019, Dave's Hot Chicken had grown from that tiny parking lot stand into a fast casual powerhouse with multiple locations across California. The design of each store was intentional graffiti-covered walls, bold red and black branding, and music that gave the space an energy unlike traditional fast food chains. Customers weren't just coming for the food, they were coming for the experience. It felt like being part of a movement, a cultural statement, and that was something no other chicken brand had captured at the time. As the world entered 2020, however, the COVID-19 pandemic created challenges for every restaurant business. Many small chains shut down permanently, and even established names struggled to stay afloat. For Dave's Hot Chicken, this could have been the end, but instead, it turned into an opportunity. The team pivoted quickly to delivery and online ordering, investing heavily in technology and partnerships with apps like Uber Eats and DoorDash. Their simple menu worked in their favor. It traveled well, stayed consistent, and customers still craved it even when they couldn't dine in person. In fact, the pandemic accelerated their national recognition. Families stuck at home ordered Dave's, posted about it online, and spread the brand even further. While others struggled, Dave's Hot Chicken doubled down on its growth strategy. The expansion strategy was bold but calculated. Unlike many fast food concepts that try to launch with dozens of items, Dave's kept things minimal: chicken tenders, sliders, fries, and sides. That consistency meant training was easier, supply chains were streamlined, and quality was never compromised. As franchisees signed on, Dave's set a strict standard. The food had to taste exactly like it did at the original stand. And with Bill Phelps leading, supported by the original founder's vision, that quality stayed intact. This was crucial because, as the brand grew beyond California, into states like Texas, Colorado, and New York, customers who had only heard about the hype needed to taste the same authenticity that locals in East Hollywood had once lined up for. By 2021, Dave's Hot Chicken was no longer a local phenomenon, had become a national sensation. Restaurants were opening across the U.S., and demand from international markets began pouring in. Canada became one of the first global expansions, followed by the Middle East, where American fast casual concepts are often embraced with enthusiasm. The growth was staggering. Within just a few years, Dave's had signed deals to open hundreds of locations, a trajectory that took other iconic brands decades to achieve. Yet despite all the success, the founders never lost sight of what made the brand special in the first place. They continued to visit stores, taste test chicken, and remind employees about the origins of the company. It wasn't about chasing trends or flooding the menu with endless items. It was about honoring a simple idea and doing it better than anyone else. That authenticity resonated deeply with customers. Unlike some brands that felt corporate or overproduced, Dave's still carried the energy of that food stand, raw, bold, and unapologetically delicious. By 2022, Dave's Hot Chicken had achieved something remarkable. It wasn't just a restaurant, it was a cultural icon. On TikTok and Instagram, videos of their chicken had racked up millions of views. On opening days in new cities, lines would stretch around the block, echoing the early days in Los Angeles. In interviews, the founders would often reflect on their journey with a mix of humility and disbelief. None of them had expected that a small stand with just a few $1,000s in savings would grow into one of the fastest-rising fast casual brands in the world. But that was the beauty of the story. It wasn't planned by corporate strategy teams. It was born out of passion, community, and timing. Today, Dave's Hot Chicken continues to expand at a pace that stuns the food industry. With hundreds of locations either open or in development, the brand is on track to become a household name not just in the United States, but around the globe. And yet when customers bite into a slider or a tender, they not just tasting chicken, they retasting the dream of a group of friends who believed in an idea, took a risk, and changed their lives forever. The story of Dave's Hot Chicken is more than a business case study. It's a reminder that even in an age dominated by giant corporations, authenticity, flavor, and community can still break through. From a humble parking lot in East Hollywood to the world stage, Dave's proves that success doesn't always start with millions of dollars or boardroom strategies. Sometimes, it starts with just an idea, a fryer, and a dream. By the time 2021 rolled around, Dave's Hot Chicken had already become more than just a restaurant chain. It had grown into a cultural symbol of what happens when passion, perseverance, and timing come together perfectly. From late-night food truck beginnings in Los Angeles to nationwide expansion, every step of their journey had been fueled by the authenticity of their vision. Customers weren't just coming for chicken, they were coming for an España chance to taste something that had a story behind it. The brand's identity was strengthened not only by its signature Nashville-style hot chicken, but also by its storytelling. Social media played a crucial role, with countless videos of people trying their fiery chicken for the first time going viral. The reactions, sometimes hilarious and sometimes emotional, helped push the brand into mainstream awareness. It wasn't just the celebrities investing. It was everyday people sharing their experiences that created a tidal wave of momentum. As expansion continued into Canada, the Middle East, and Europe, the brand maintained its core values. They ensured that no matter where a new store opened, the food quality matched the same intensity as the original recipes. For a company scaling at such a rapid pace, this consistency was extraordinary and rare. Dave's Hot Chicken became a case study in how street food could evolve into a global franchise without losing its soul. The story of Dave's Hot Chicken is also a reflection of the American dream. For friends with limited resources but endless ambition, created something from almost nothing. They showed that success doesn't always come from huge capital or connections. It can come from creativity, relentless effort, and a willingness to take risks. Their journey continues to inspire young entrepreneurs, especially in the restaurant industry, where breaking through is notoriously difficult. Today, Dave's Hot Chicken operates hundreds of locations worldwide and continues to grow. Each new store opening draws long lines, sometimes stretching around entire city blocks, reminiscent of their early days on the streets of LA. The founders, who once worried about paying rent, now oversee a brand valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet, they often remind people that the journey started with just a few friends, who believed in a simple idea, serving the best hot chicken they possibly could. For those who visit, it's not only about the spice levels or the taste. It's about being part of a modern success story, one that proves that with enough vision and determination, dreams can be fried, served, and shared with the world. And so, Dave's Hot Chicken continues to spread its heat, city by city, country by country, reminding everyone that sometimes the boldest flavors come from the humblest beginnings.